Hello ladies and gentlemen, just wanting to do a quick video here of two classic lawn care industry mowers that I just happen to be a very proud owner of both, and they're both running. The first one here, as you can see, is a very bright orange Kubota full commercial W5021-SCC, which means this is the full commercial model, and it is a straight up beast. I've been using this mower for the past 8 months at my house and on some accounts that I have. It's took a lot of work to get it to where it's at. The guy I bought it from, I paid $75 for it. He had kind of given up on it. I had heard about these mowers. I never imagined I'd see one in person. When I got it to the house, I found a lot of problems that he had. He had stripped out the spark plug. He had cross-threaded the spark plug threads, so the plug was just sitting in there. It would just come straight out. At that point, I realized I had more problems than I was expecting. I tried to put a new spark plug adapter in there. That didn't work. Took it to a mechanic. He couldn't figure it out. So I got lucky and saw another ad for one. It wasn't a commercial model, but I took a gamble and bought the homeowner Kubota, and it was just a 19-inch. This one was a 21. But the engine, even though it wasn't self-propelled, the top half of the engine worked perfectly. So I mated up the bottom half, which has, as you can see, it has the drive shaft built into the bottom half. So this came off the old motor. I took the motor off this part of off the 19-inch, and lo and behold, it worked just right. The only problems I have now are the car probably needs rebuilding, but it works just fine once it warms up. It smokes a little bit, but I know these Kubotas are known to smoke a little bit. There's the transmission. I've got it in low. To switch it neutral, just move it one. If you want to put it in high gear, just move it one more. Sometimes you got to play around with the lever up here, but transmission works just fine. It's got this big beefy guard up here, and it's got the big 9-inch tires. Tread's still pretty decent all the way around. The one thing I love about this mower, it did take me some getting used to, is it's just very rigid. There's no give whatsoever on these handlebars. So if you press down, the whole mower is coming up without any give whatsoever. So if you get a lawnmower today, even for the ones they call commercial, you'll see a lot of bounce, a lot of give in the bars, because they're just not as rigid as they used to be. Now X marks, stuff like that, yeah, they're probably just as rigid, but you're paying $1,300–1,400 for something similar. This mower, in my opinion, was way ahead of its time. It's unfortunate they only built them from 89 to 90, if I'm not mistaken. They still had them over in Europe. I think you can still get this same mower in France, but don't quote me on that. I know there's a very similar model on the French Kubota website. I tried buying the baffle adapter that goes back here. Comes out, it's just a plastic piece or aluminum, directs the grass to the left. The salesman over there never wrote me back, so I guess he didn't want to bother, which is cool. I've come up with my own adapter for it. But another thing is this big gas tank. But yeah, that's the Kubota. Here's the controls up here. I've got the cover off simply because my throttle cable is completely worn out. It's about $25 online. I haven't bought it yet, but both hands I can get that cable to work. Here's the gas. Really awesome setup. Here's the blade clutch, which, you know, once you get used to using the blade clutch, you don't want to go back to the old way, because nobody's got time to keep pull starting the mower when you got to dump a bag 10 times on some yards. But that's pretty much the Kubota. I'm going to move over here to the Honda, and first thing you'll notice is there's a very big striking resemblance with this model. And I'm not looking at a full commercial model here, but this was maybe a step below commercial. This is known as the HR 214 SX. It's got the 8-inch wheels. I believe it's a 5-horse engine. I just got this thing today from a pawn shop. They said they've been trying to get it to run. They couldn't get it working. So they took a good bit off the price for me. I paid a little over $100 out the door. Sprayed some starting fluid in it, cleaned out the carb, put some fresh gas in it, and some lawnmower tune-up, which you don't really see that stuff anywhere. If you got a Rural King in your location, the stuff is awesome. Take out the plug, spray it for about 5 seconds in the spark plug hole, leave the spark plug out, pull it to where you get at least 1 revolution on the piston, let it sit there about 15 minutes, and then put the plug back in, and then fire her up. And she's going to smoke for about a good 5 minutes or so. But all that does is that liquid, that lawnmower tune-up, just, I guess you call it, emulsifies all that old carbon, and next thing you know, your motor's running like new. Now both of these motors, I know for a fact this one is 26 years old, built in 1989. I've done a lot of research on this model. I know this one, I believe, has been manufactured, or was manufactured, starting in 1991. So Honda pretty much picked up where Kubota left off, and I can't really blame them. I mean, Kubota just knocked it out of the park. Some guys may argue Honda's been doing these mowers a lot longer than that. I don't know. All I know is I got it running. It's got the same setup. You know, it's even got the same similar style, you know, step for when you start it. It's got the same drive shaft coming out the back right here. Very similar. Transmission, almost identical. Honda did a little better job with routing the cables, in my opinion. But we're basically looking at the same mower. You get up here and you see even more resemblance. I'm not too fond of this blade clutch setup, and the reason being is when you're mowing, this big piece right here, this part right here, it's all up in your leg. So as you can see, you can even see where it's been, but that's just me getting used to it. I've only used it for about 10 or 15 minutes total. It's not a bad system. I just prefer this. You know, you press this All you gotta do to engage is in and up. This one's more straightforward. Just press up. That's your that's to engage the transmission. Now the only problem I'm having here, well, first of all, here's your turtle. That's your rabbit. This one, turtle's not even engaging. It engaged for a split second. I heard it vibrate, and that was all I could get out of it. Put it in second. She works just fine. I sprayed some PB blaster down in here, hoping that maybe that would loosen something up, but I'm believing after watching a video online, I believe it's more internal. I just haven't got around to doing that, but the mower is working just fine. Try to get this thing to refocus here. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's see. Throttle is very similar. The only difference, a big difference I'd say, is the fast gear on this Kubota compared to the fast gear on this Honda. It's a pretty big difference. I don't even attempt to use this one unless the yard is just really big. Other than that, I never touch high speed on this. Of course, all I got is high speed on this one. It's not unbearable on this. It's almost just right. But for someone like my wife, she tried using it and she said it was just too fast. So I definitely got to get that fixed. But I think I've covered both. As you can see, definitely came from the same father or mother, one of the two. I would even almost guess Honda picked up some engineers once they quit making this Pushmower at Kubota. I love them both, and they're going to be on my rig every week. I just prefer older technology when it comes to certain things, and when it comes to Pushmowers, I'll have to do another video with the cut they make. But these two right here are absolutely top of the line when it comes to just vacuuming power. As you can see, I don't have much grass back here, but this was covered up in leaves. Just tried the Honda back here earlier. It's just as capable at picking up everything that the Kubota is. In fact, I'd say the vacuum on both is, if the Kubota was a Kirby, the Honda would be a rainbow. That's the best I can compare it. But half of this right here is sand, and it weighs a ton. And that came specifically from a Honda I got running just an hour or two ago. The coolest thing I like is, I was just curious to see, because this one didn't come in a bag. As you can see, this one is Kubota commercial. Costs about $100 if you buy it new. And this will show you just how similar these two mowers are. This bag fits perfectly all the way around. It fits inside this tray, identical to the Kubota. So I kind of got lucky. But to take it one step further, here's the mulching plug off the Honda, which is something I've severely been needing since I got the Kubota. Can't even find these mulch plugs anywhere, but it fits in there almost perfectly. Not quite as great as the bag fits the Honda, but I've got a pretty killer combo here with these two mowers. Just got to get the carburetor adjusted. The Honda's working just fine, and I'll just start them up real quick to show you. Really impressed with this Honda engine. Again, the Kubota needs some adjustment. Probably gonna buy a new float, a new needle for the carburetor. Get this plug out of here. I haven't actually tested it with the blade, so I don't want to cut up my mulch plug, but this engine sounds unlike any 5 horsepower engine I've ever heard, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but alright, well, I appreciate you viewing. I'll probably post some updates on one or the other or both in the future. I know there's a lot of guys out there that love these mowers, and I really can't tell a difference between the two. Other than the Kubota is just a little bit longer and weighs a heck of a lot more, but granted, it's got steel wheels compared to plastic wheels, so I'd like to get my hand on I believe it's a HR 215 or 216, but I'm probably just going to try to convert this one into one of those. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like it is, and take care.